Hi guys, it's the Forgetful Scholar and I'm here to talk about books. 2 books this week. And hey guys, guess what? I remembered to put my light on. So for the last, I don't know, month or 2, I would set up my light and then I would forget to turn it on. I'm thriving, it's fine. So the first book I'm going to talk about is an MF sci-fi, sort of contemporary, but not really. Alien monster romance. And I think by that description, you guys know who I'm talking about. So, His Human Neighbor, Monsters Love Curvy Girls, book 9? Yeah, book 9, by Michele Mills. Dun dun dun. Now, I would give this one 3 stars. I had fun. It was a nice, fast, fun read, which is what I was looking for. Doggo, again, every time. And I just came back from the dentist, so half of my face is numb. So like if I sound weird, let's just blame that. Cool? Okay. So 3 stars. So this is kind of, it's in the universe, same kind of alien, the ones with the red skin, black horns, okay? Maya is the human and Creighton is the alien. And Maya accidentally ends up on Perth, which is like a pleasure, like a resort planet, or yeah, I think planet, not country, planet, for aliens, like the red skinned horned aliens. I can never pronounce their name. She was gonna go on a space cruise, and she accidentally ended up there. But then she decided to stay because it was just so pretty. Like it's described beautifully, and this is a novella. And I love how this author like packs a punch in just such short amounts of books. You know what I mean? Because like, we've been there, right? When the book is like 400, 500 pages and you felt like nothing was explained. There was no plot. You know what I mean? But this is like a quick 130 something pages and like everything had a fast, nice pace. Nothing felt rushed. As always, she sees the aliens. She freaks out because they look like, you know, the devil. She ends up staying there in Perth. And the head of the resort, who is an ex-spy, I don't know why, I mean, it was such a weird little detail, but anyway, puts her in the family portion of the resort, not the unmated portion, and she's living next to, for this vacation, a full month free. I'm like, damn, and there's no technology. It's like a dead zone. It's supposed to be on purpose, you know, to unplug and everything, right? So she's next to a retired general and 2 retired teachers. So she kind of thinks older, you know what I mean? Turns out the general is retired, young, and hot, apparently. I do love how in the series, the human girls are always like, I'm so scared. They look like demons. And then quickly they're like, hello, I want myself some red beef with that guy. You know what I mean? It's so fast and it always makes me laugh. So the general, who is Creighton, we met his family, not him, but his family in the Fire Lord, that story, because his family is super bigoted. They're super racist against humans and stuff. So we met his family. He's nice. He's a nice little cinnamon bun. He's a widower with 2 daughters. They're so adorable. The thing is, like, this is like the 3rd single father, and I love me a good single parent romance. I do. I really, really do. I think it's one of my, because I was thinking about like what are the tropes I really like, and that's one of them, like a single parent. And like, what I would really love if like the female, like if she was a single parent, because we haven't seen that. It's always the guy, you know what I mean? So I would love to see if she was the single parent, you know what I mean? Michele Mills, can you just write that book for me? Just like, it's fine, right? You take her risks. So with you know, with all her books, it's like insta-lust, but a complication happens to slow them down so they get to know each other. Because they have a lot in common. He's retired, but he's going to be a military professor, like history, like military history professor in one of the colleges. He could care less about his title. He's like a baron, but he doesn't like all of that. You know what I mean? His first wife died, and they were an arranged marriage that worked out really well because they were best friends. You know, and she works for a military manufacturer back on New Earth. And her job's, she has like no family, no connections back to New Earth. And I'm like, okay, you know, sometimes I would like them to have like a full family and like a loving family back home that they visit. You know what I mean? Anyway, and basically she's being pushed out of her job by an incompetent boss. So she's kind of taking this vacation to reassess and like find a new job. You know what I mean? Anyway, so Instalust, Kraydon kind of like puts the moves on her in front of everybody, so everybody kind of knows he's interested. And then his hell beast of a mother, and that's what this book, Hell Beast, shows up and basically traps him with like old laws to marry this one young girl that she wants him to marry because they're the proper bloodline. Because he only has girls. He doesn't have a boy. He needs like proper, you know, it's very like gross. You know what I mean? It's very racist, very gross. And she's 20 years younger than he is. And she's sort of like a party girl, you know what I mean? But she's the youngest of a titled family, but they're really poor. And she knows with this, she gets title, she gets money and all that kind of stuff. So she's willing to go along with it, even though she doesn't want kids. She doesn't want anything to do with the two daughters who are very sweet, you know, and he's kind of trapped in this. And in this world, she can break it off with him, but he can't break it off with her. So his female force fiance is Alice. She's kind of horrible. Togo, really. But I liked how you kind of understood why she kept pushing this, even though she didn't want it either. You understood her motivations. So she was like a little redeemable. I liked that the mother stayed horrible. You know what I mean? Because sometimes it's nice to have a redeemable bad guy. You know what I mean? But sometimes it's nice to just have a bad guy who's a bad guy throughout and like never changes and is just horrible and you just like enjoy hating them. You know, sometimes that's fun too. And like when I was reading this, that's what I needed. I needed someone just to hate. So I love that. Alice has like a true mate, which is like their version of soulmates, with someone on the resort, and he's trying to push her to break off the engagement because he wants to be with her, and she's like all this pressure and everything like that. Spoiler alert, happy ending. That ending was really wonderful and very satisfying in the public humiliation kind of way. You know me, guys, bloodthirsty. You know, I don't want to give too much away, but like the ending was really nice. I really liked it. I liked the little epilogue at the end. I find these stories of this author like easy, digestible, a lot of fun. You know what I mean? So I enjoyed myself. And then the last book of this week is, get ready guys, because this was requested. Thank you so much for suggesting this one because I loved it. And if I could find like the comment, like or your name who did it, I'll put it up here. Still learning how to do that kind of stuff in the back end. So if I don't figure it out how to put it here, then I'll put it like in the description. Okay. But thank you so much for suggesting The Secret by Julie Garwood. This was like lifelong friends and I loved it. I loved it so much that I had to stop myself from going back to my secondhand bookstore and buying any other Julie Garwoods that they had, especially since I have another one up there that's contemporary to test out because contemporary is not completely my thing, but we're going to see. And my TBR shelf is kind of like, I have to stop like reading one book off of it and then like getting 4 more books. Like I gotta stop. This is FM Historical. And this is 5 stars. I had a blast. And this came out in 92. So I'm going to tell, like, so I'm going to do spoilers. You know, don't get pissed. It's from 1992. Okay? This has to do with, in the year 1200 in England and Scotland. So basically, I loved the friendship in it. Judith and her best friend Frances Catherine met when they were 4 and 5 respectively, and they were just best friends ever since. And I love how strong their female friendship is. It's a great example of female friendship in fiction that isn't catty, isn't backstabby. It's actually just pure joy, trust, you know, all that kind of stuff. Now, Frances Catherine is Scottish and Judith is English. Sort of. She is. Anyway, Frances Catherine's mother and grandmother both died in childbirth, so she's terrified she will too. Because, I mean, childbirth's terrifying now. Imagine back in the year 1200. Like, imagine if I could find pictures of the birthing hook they described and the birthing chair, I will put them up. I don't know if I'll find those, but let's pretend I did. Hey, horrifying. So, so she makes Judith promise to be there when she gives birth, whether it's because she thinks Judith would be stubborn enough to keep her going. My hair's so frizzy. It's actually a human day in the desert. Who would have thought? Anyway, like stubborn enough to keep her alive, or she wants her best friend, her sister really, you know what I mean, to be there during her final moments, like whatever it is. So she makes her promise. And Judith, I love how we discover who Judith is, because not only does she keep this promise, but in the year 1200, she scours England with the help of her Aunt Millicent and her Uncle Herbert, who were wonderful, talking to every midwife there is, learning as much as she can. And she's unmarried, so this is kind of like taboo, but her aunt and uncle understand and are wonderful. I wish we had more scenes with them, to be honest. So she gets all this advice, and then she finds Maud, who by her description is ancient and really knows what she's talking about, and it's all very like common sense. So she kind of works on, like, studies under her for 6 weeks, right? So the thing with Judith is her mother is a bee, huge bee. I don't know. I read the books of like evil hell beast moms this week. I don't know why. I have no idea why. So sometimes it doesn't happen, right? You take like completely different kind of books and there's like a common thread in them that you see, and I'm always like, huh, that's interesting, because I didn't consciously know that when I picked this out. Anyway, I'm all over the place. I blame my numb face. So, so Judith, like, it becomes an expert in being a midwife, but she's not a midwife herself. She's never helped anybody. She has no practical experience, right? It's all book learning kind of a thing, right? So Judith, her father's supposedly dead. Her mother is horrible, doesn't want her living with Uncle Herbert and Millicent, who raised her the first 4 years of her life, because Uncle Herbert's Scottish. So she goes to live with her mother's older brother, Uncle Telkel, I think, Tekel, Tekel. And he was crippled in the war, his legs, and he's in always constant amount of pain, so he drinks the pain away and he becomes an abusive drunk. And it's sad because, like, it really seems when he's not drinking, he's very sweet and he really cares about her. Like, he cares about her so much that he kind of tells her lies about who her father was, like this hero baron that died in the war, things like that. But Millicent told her the truth, that her father is actually a laird of the MacLeans in Scotland, and her mother basically married him out of spite, and then left when she was pregnant with Judith. And Judith always kind of has his ring around his neck that his older uncle gave to her. So she's very neglected for 6 months out of the year when she's living with her uncle and mother, and very abused that way. Even though, like, I don't know, like, her uncle who is bedridden, like, someone who has a condition that chronic pain, I get being in so much pain that you act out, but also like I'm a fucking adult, and like if I see that happen, I apologize and curb myself. But also, I don't live in the Middle Ages where pain medication is freaking wine drinking all the time. You know what I mean? I'm lucky enough to have gabapentin. Thank you very much. So I could understand how horrible it is for the uncle. I still don't think it's okay that the uncle hurt her, like beat her and stuff like that, and emotionally abused her. He, when he's sober, apparently is very nice, very kind. It's just like it's it's a complex kind of relationship, and I like that it was complex. So she hears that Frances is about to give birth, so she's ready to go. So that's where we're going to stop for her for a minute, and then we're going to go to Ian, who is the laird of his clan that Frances Catherine married into. He has his younger brother is Frances Catherine's husband. So the husband promised his wife he will get Judith there for the birthing. They have to go through the elders because they're a very isolated group. They don't like outsiders. And Ian goes with a bunch of his warriors, expecting to be turned away, because like English people won't keep their word. That's how, in the book. And she's ready. She's there with like her vassal. She's ready to go. And I liked how you see that she is such a loyal friend that she studied for so long with these midwives. You find that out a little later. And I liked how in this scene, you see all the servants running to help her get packed. And you realize they adored her. You know what I mean? So I liked how that storytelling was shown, like how I got a huge sense of who she is just by how like loyal her uncle's servants were to her. I'm like, okay, their loyalties to her, not him. I saw that she was a kind, compassionate person already. And I was like, awesome. And stubborn. So they're surprised by her stubbornness. Of course, she's gorgeous. So, and doesn't know it. You know what I mean? So, Ian kind of falls for her stubbornness, her courage, her trustworthiness, things like that. But the big secret is that her father is a McLean. And I thought that was a bigger deal going into this book because apparently Ian is, his clan is warring with them. But then you find out they're pretty much warring with everybody. So, like, the impact of her being the daughter of the enemy wasn't as intense for me until, like, later on. You know what I mean? So, she gets there. Another girl who was an outsider married into the clan is about to give birth, but she's terrified of the midwife, Angus. And we're going to get to Angus because I hated her. Okay, which I was supposed to do, so good job. Yeah. She's terrified to give birth, again, of course. And Judith is kind to her and is trying to be reassuring, and she wants Judith to help her. So Judith is ends up helping her against her will because she's terrified she's going to mess up, but ends up, helping her have the baby. And Agnes, who thinks she runs the roost because she has a really beautiful daughter and she thinks Ian's going to marry her daughter because she's the prettiest in the clan. So she's kind of already acting like the Laird's mother-in-law, even though Ian didn't even seem to know who Agnes's daughter was. You know what I mean? You really kind of got that sense, like he vaguely knew that like they're part of his clan, but he didn't pay them any more attention than he does to the next person, So Agnes, and remember, this is medieval times, right? This is the Middle Ages, right? She grabs a priest and is like, oh, Isabel, that's the outsider's name. Oh, she didn't have pain in her birth. Obviously, she didn't have the sin of Lilith. So this baby's the devil. Like she's trying to get the priest to declare that the son that Isabel and one of the warriors had is like a son of the devil because she didn't scream in pain. And you have to remember, this is the Middle Ages. Yes, in Europe, the witch trials didn't start till around the mid 1400s. But still, at best, she and the child would have been banished. And the child be considered a bastard. Like, this is like a big deal. You know what I mean? And I'm happy that the priest was so kind. And like, during the birth, like, Isabel like hurt Judith because, it's painful. So Judith was able to see like, oh, this is how much she hurt. She just wasn't screaming out because her husband, you know what I mean? So everything's okay. But that is like the reason I really hate Agnes. Like right there. Okay. So there's secrets everywhere. Like the title of the book, there's secrets everywhere. Judith and Frances Catherine, they know each other's secrets, and they're keeping the secret of who Judith's father really is under their hat. They're never going to tell. You know, Frances Catherine's husband finds out, like accidentally by overhearing, tells his brother. They're keeping a secret that they know, you know, and the brother, who's already fallen in love with Judith, wants to marry her right away so that no one else finds out. And when they do find out, she'll have his protection. You know what I mean? So he's keeping a secret from her. So there's secrets everywhere. And I love it. I'm like, oh, look at that. Name of the book, title of the book. Anyway, so they get married. It's kind of a rush ceremony because he's rushing it because he wants to get married before anybody finds out who her father is. Later on, and it was surprisingly funny moments. Like, I know that sounds weird, but the elders that live in the keep, especially one of the older ones, were really funny. Like, not like hilarious, haha funny, but like a nice kind of comic relief that had me like giggling a few times in it. I will say, I guess because I'm used to other writers really describing, you know, the keeps and the food at the medieval suppers, especially during this time period, I was kind of surprised how this author didn't really focus on that stuff. It was very much focusing on the people, and you just kind of had to fill in with your brain what was going on. I mean, the keep that she eventually lives in, it is described like as a monstrosity and kind of why she doesn't like it. I'm like, okay, but I just read other books that go into more detail, but that's okay. I still gave it 5 stars because I loved the best friends. I loved the brother relationship between the Laird and his younger brother. I loved the relationship between Judith and Ian. I love the relationship between Frances Catherine and her husband Patrick. Just the people. I loved the old elders kind of giving Judith, like not liking Judith because she's British, but then liking her because she's just a sweet person, you know. Especially the worst, crankiest one. Like he's coughing during like an argument where they're all yelling, and she's like making sure he's okay, and he looks at her and starts coughing fit all over again. So like it's kind of sweet how she's just being herself, very kind, very sweet person, and it's just winning people over. And I really liked how that was shown, you know. It wasn't like heavy-handed, like, oh, she's so kind, so she ran over and helped. It's like, oh, she's like, oh no, she knows the oldest of the elders is like coughing on his own, like choking on his own spit and like can't breathe, so she goes over to help, you know, even though he was saying bad things about her a second ago. I really, really like that character. I love Judith. I really, really like her. She's going down as one of my favorites. She's going down as one of my favorites. And then she gets snatched. She gets grabbed by the McLeans and a brother she didn't know about, an older brother she didn't know about, which makes her physically ill, especially when the brother's like going in for a kiss because the brother has no idea. She's like, I'm gonna vomit. And I was like, you projectile vomit on that boy, go for it. And then like it comes to a head, and it comes to a head that Ian knows. And she doesn't believe that he knew all the whole time. She just thinks he's saying that, you know. Apparently her father didn't know about her, and he's like, the speech about, because he's like, I swore I'd never go back to England. I wouldn't have gone back for her. I wouldn't have gone back for land. I wouldn't have gone back for money. And she's like leaving, and he stops her and he's like, but I would have gone back for you. I would have gone back to get my daughter, to get you. Like, and I felt that. I was like, with the feelings, with the, oh my gosh. Like, I was like, I'm surprised. You know, it was funny how like, when, you know, Ian goes to save them and like it all comes to a head, and like Ian finds out that Duncan like tried to kiss her and like gave her a bruise on her arm. He like casually flings him across the room. I thought that was like casually, that's kind of the casual humor in it. Like, I get this author's humor and I like it. I like it a lot. So it all comes to a head, and there's a really touching scene in the end about the elders and how the clan so far is run and how she wants to change it. And it's like basically a a kumbaya ending, but I'm not mad about it. I'm not mad about it, you know? Like, Ian gives up the Laird ship and is gonna leave with Judith because she doesn't want to be there as an outsider. And then you see that she's not an outsider. All the women love her. Now, I love this book. Now, the thing I didn't like about this book, the comeuppance on Agnes, you don't get to see. It's off page. I was like, no. I need to see her pain, her fear of the Laird finding out what she was doing, because she was spreading horrible rumors about Judith being like them having sex before marriage. Again, medieval ages, that's bad, right? So I wanted to see Agnes's tears, her fear, her anger. I wanted to feel it. I wanted to see it. I wanted to consume it. I kind of feel bad for Cecilia, her beautiful daughter, because it seemed like she wasn't really involved in her mom's meanness. They don't really talk about her. She's not really in the book. She's just sort of there. So I really would have needed Agnes's pain on the page. She almost got an innocent girl and son banished for being demons and the consort of Satan in the Middle Ages. I needed the comeuppance on page. I needed my blood. I needed my blood tribute, you know? That's the only like negative thing I could say about this book. And for me, that's really good. So I really loved it. Thank you so much for suggesting this book. I really hope I can figure out how to, you know, put your name and everything up here as a thank you. I really loved it. Okay, I don't want to, but it's time for me to get back to the real world. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye.